Good afternoon. Welcome back, especially for those of you who may not have been with us at 3 o'clock for the Torah reading. We, during this service last year, shared a recognition that in a very real sense, these High Holy Day broadcasts are an act and proof of our sense of hope and faith. Those of us who are in the sanctuary, few in number, know that you all are out there. Many of you in real time with us, but we cannot see you. We cannot hear you. But we feel you in our hearts and souls anyway. And that's where the faith and the hope come in. I say that to start because we need to acknowledge the realities of what went on this morning. I need you to know that service 2 from this morning, the one that was completely wiped out by our technical difficulties, is now up online and available in all places. And the decision was made to get that one out first because we saw most of service 1 live in real time. The last 10 or so minutes of that, which got lost, will be up with the entire service later on today. In addition, we are cutting separately the rabbi's sermon from that second hour, so that those of you who watched either another congregation or went back to our own worship last year, instead of being able to see us and pray with us live this morning, can plug in that part which was distinct for this year and hear the message that we are all focusing on as a community. None of this could have happened, nor could we be live right now, without the incredible willingness of our volunteer tech, production, and communication crews who fought to get us back online, who worked through the entire break to get the stuff that we had recorded out so it's available to you, who worked to get the word out as soon as we knew we had a problem to send you to different places and give you different opportunities. And ironically, as you'll see when Service 1 goes up in its totality, in that 10 lost minutes was our clear thank you to all of them for all they do. So I want to repeat it right now. The committee is led by Sean Stein. Not all of the members are here at all services, but without the work of Sean and Scott Heckinger and Michael Tannenhaus and Leon Steinberg and Philip Charthauer and Michael Levin, the presentations could not work. The incredible work behind the scenes, much of which you don't even get to see and recognize, of Rich Bleach as part of the group that allows us to have backup when bad things happen to good prayers available to us. The work of Lisa Gottman and the communications crew, all of them. We couldn't do it without you. And since we're coming back from the other materials from the break, my thanks to Nancy Maxwell for once again leading movement and yoga, to the Sloan boys, Sebastian and Solomon, for this year's hysterical and accurate and powerfully messaged presentation on Jonah. If you haven't watched it yet, 7 minutes and 46 seconds, it's worth it. And to Felicia for organizing the music and meditation, even if we have now taken advantage of our J license to utilize Craig Taubman and others' material for that experience as well. We're about to begin on page 477 in our prayer books for our afternoon service. As we did last year, we are completing the journey that our prayer book takes us up 15 steps during the Avodah, interspersed with the appropriate confession and atonement seeking for this day. Page 477, the large words in the Hebrew and the English at the top of the stage, at the top of the page, setting our opening hymn and our message for this journey. V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Ve'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham v'anachnu nivarech Yah me'ata ve'ad olam. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
And as we continue on page 478, a reminder that being in broadcast mode allows us truly the freedom to use this book as it was intended, allowing you to join your voices to ours whenever you feel comfortable in your own home, allowing the silence to work as well when that works better for you. Az yomru v'agoyim higdil Adonai la'asot im eleh. Then they shall say among the nations, the Eternal has done great things for them. Inspired by Jewish memory, rooted in the history of our people, may we ascend toward the holy. Precious is the light by which we gaze upon the past, and blessed are the journeys of those who came before us. Abraham and Sarah left familiar ways, went forth to places they did not know. Moses and Miriam led their people from fear to faith through a wilderness of doubt. Blessed is the wisdom of sages and prophets who taught our ancestors the life of holiness. You shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the stranger's heart. Let justice well up like water, righteousness like an unfailing stream. You must not remain indifferent. Love your neighbor as yourself. Out of violence and brokenness came prayers of healing, a religion of renewal, joy, and compassion. Through centuries of longing, their hearts in the east when they were in the west, those who came before us prayed next year in Jerusalem. They bless us, the ones sustained on their journeys by righteousness and love, the ones who built lives from words of Torah, memory, and hope. Blessed is the light that makes their hope ours, and their memory our sacred path. Years since we have traveled, but when I hear through the open windows of the backyards, plates being collected and silverware being gathered up, two glasses laughing when knocked into each other like friends jostled on a bus ride, I think of all those towns and narrow streets, how just when we made it outside with our extra shirt and guidebook, the shops and the museums closed, and outside of time we heard the families setting places for their lunch and then clearing them, each apartment with its own set of bells, and the lovely stones we could walk at any time and didn't leave the seedlings that floated through May air, and how the walls of the ghetto remained and made me dance. I just heard the singing there and was never more present anywhere else. Deep are the waters of time, to search their darkness for glimmers of the ancient radiance, sparks of inspiration and guidance. This is our avodah, the sacred service of this holy day. Deep are the waters of our people's past. To plumb their depth, to see our reflections in the living stream of history, this is our avodah, the sacred service of this holy day. Deep are the waters of memory. To drink from this well, to remember our past and make it come alive, this is our avodah, the sacred service of this holy day. Deep are these waters. Are they not the source of our salvation? Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al hazikaron. Blessed are you, eternal presence, by whose power we sanctify life through the mitzvah of Jewish memory. Hine ma tovu manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov manaim shevet achim gam yachad.
With every Jewish home we create, with every synagogue we build and sustain, may we ascend toward the holy. V'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. And let them make me a sanctuary that I might dwell among them. But will God really dwell on earth? Even the heavens to the uttermost reaches cannot contain you. How much less this house that I have built? King Solomon's temple ended long ago, left in ruins by the army of Babylon. The second temple, burned by Rome, is now just a distant memory. Where is God's dwelling place now? Said the prophet Ezekiel, God has become for Israel a mikdash ma'at, a diminished sanctity, after the fall of Jerusalem and the scattering of our people. But our sages taught every synagogue is a mikdash ma'at, a small sanctuary. Each carries a spark of Beit HaMikdash, the holy temple in Jerusalem. Asked Rashi, why did they call the temple the house of the God of Jacob? And he answered, for Abraham, the abode of the divine was a mountain, for Isaac, an open field. But Jacob said, how wondrous is this place! This must be the house of God. Jacob discovered the divine in the vision of a house, and so the temple is forever linked with his name. Mountains and fields inspire us with nature's beauty, but houses are built by human hands. Every Jewish home is now a sanctuary, where goodness is nurtured and brought to life. And God's altar, now the altar is our table, where we gather to offer our best and share what we have. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu livnot mikdash ma'at. Blessed are you, eternal presence, by whose power we sanctify life when we build small sanctuaries, Jewish homes, and synagogues.
I do not aspire to great things or to what is beyond me. I have taught myself to be contented. Through words of Torah, through deeds of Torah, may we ascend toward the holy. Our sages teach, so bright was the light on the first day of creation that it shone from one end of the world to the other. Such light could not coexist with the darkness of evil, so God concealed this holy light and hid it away. Where is that light today? The Holy One concealed it in the holy book, and those who study Torah will bring forth its radiant sparks. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai received the tradition from Hillel and from Shammai. He used to say, if you have learned much Torah, do not hold yourself in high esteem, because that is what you were created to do. On page 488, Felicia and I will be reading in two voices when we get to that part. Give ear, O heavens, and let me speak. Let the earth hear the words I utter. May my discourse come down as the rain, my speech distill as the dew, like showers on young growth, like droplets on the grass. Rain exists forever, so too words of Torah endure.
Dew delights the earth, so too words of Torah delight those who study.
Showers give young plants their special traits, color, height, and blossoms, so too words of Torah cultivate human virtues, kindness, compassion, and piety.
Tiny droplets revive a fading flower, so too words of Torah refresh the soul, awakening mind and heart.
No one knows when rain will come until it falls upon the earth. So too, no one knows a Torah teacher's skill until the student's life unfolds.
Rain bestows upon each fruit its own specific taste: olive, carob, grape, and fig. So too, each Torah teaching is unique in form, codes and commandments, legend and lore.
Rain is pure and washes everything on which it falls. So too, words of Torah wash away sin and make atonement for our errors and our wrongs. Baruch atah Adonai, notein haTorah. Blessed are you, eternal presence, who places Torah at the heart of existence. Israel, yearn for God from now until the end of time. Through prayers of praise and thanks, and when we humbly ask for your help, may we ascend toward the holy. If then you obey the mitzvot that I enjoin upon you this day, loving the eternal your God and serving God with all your heart, what is the service of the heart? It is prayer. We continue together. When a person overwhelmed by the impact of a specific experience seeks the nearness of God, or bursts forth in hallelujah, or bows down in gratitude, it is prayer, but not service of God yet. It is a human response to a potent stimulus. But when we pray without the stimulus of a specific occasion, acknowledging that we are always dependent on God, that independently of all personal experiences, God is always to be praised and to be thanked, then and only then is prayer divine service of the heart. I say with perfect faith that prior to God there was prayer. Prayer created God, God created people, and people create prayers, which create God, who creates people. To be able to pray is to know how to stand still and how to dwell upon a word. This is how some worshipers of the past would act. They would repeat the same word many times because they loved and cherished it so much that they could not part with it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al hatfilah. Blessed are you, eternal presence, by whose power we experience holiness through prayer.
Shir hamalot b'shuv Adonai et shivat Zion ימלא שחוק פינו, ולשוננו רינה. אז יאמרו והגויים, הגדיל אדוני לעשות עם אלה, שיר המעלות בשוב אדוני. את שיבת ציון היינו כחולמים.
And with that, we come to a landing on the flight of steps that we journey upon seeking holiness. And so we turn in our prayer books to page 416 for our confessional. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, our God and God of all generations. May our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, Hevinu, Vehirshanu, Zadnu, Hamasnu, Tafalnu Shaker, Yatsnura, Kizavnu, Latsnu, Maradnu, Niatsnu, Sararnu, Avinu, Pashanu, Sararnu,
Kishinu Oref,
Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Titanu. You know the secrets of the universe and the secrets of the human heart. You know and understand us, for you examine our inner lives. Nothing is concealed from you, nothing hidden from your sight. Eternal One, our God and God of our ancestors, we pray that this be your will. Forgive all our wrongs. Pardon us for every act of injustice. Help us atone for all our mortal failures. For these sins, O God, we ask forgiveness, and I invite you to join in on all of them as they are written in the plural. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through insincere promises. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, the harm we have caused in your world by making light of serious matters. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through condescension. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through our innermost thoughts, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through hypocrisy. Ve'al kulam elo haslichot, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you, openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world through our thoughtlessness. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by profaning your name in public, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through gossip and rumor, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the way we have wronged you through narrow-mindedness, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha begalui arayot, the ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by betraying trust, and harm we have caused in your world through impulsive acts of malice. Ve'al kulam elo haslichot, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. I draw your attention to the next 4 pages, a couple of pages of familiar readings from earlier prayer books on these same subjects, an outstanding reading turning this act of confessing into an act that hopefully will become part of God's healing and repair, and finally turning the whole confession process on its ear and asking Hakarat HaTov, what gives us strength to pursue goodness? I leave them all for you to explore on your own time throughout the rest of the day and the rest of the year as we continue now on page 426. And we read responsively, Avinu Malkeinu, as Joseph wept and opened a forgiving heart to his brothers, let our hearts be open to those who ask our forgiveness. Avinu Malkeinu, as the high priest entered the innermost shrine to atone, let our acts of teshuvah touch our innermost life. Avinu Malkeinu, as Jonah cried out to God, I thought I was driven away. Let us reach for the divine from the depths of our being. Avinu Malkeinu, as you said to Moses and Israel, you shall be holy, for I am holy. Let us affirm today we shall pursue holiness in our everyday lives, revering mother and father, providing for the poor, rising before the aged, loving the neighbor and stranger as ourselves. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein manu masim. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein manu masim. Asimonu, tzedaka v'chesed. Asimonu, tzedaka v'chesed, v'yoshinu. Asimonu, tzedaka v'chesed. Asimonu, tzedaka v'chesed, v'yoshinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. We turn back now to continuing and completing the journey of ascension, page 493, as we prepare to take the final 4 steps of this journey. Kedoshim Tihiyu, you shall be holy. Like the dew of Hermon that falls upon Zion, there the eternal ordained blessing, everlasting life. We contemplate the sacred depths of nature, its elegant designs, its intricate patterns. Through the mystery and beauty of the natural world, may we ascend toward the holy. Excited, my thoughts give rise to a vision. Your marvels, which I see with the eye of my heart, your wonders when toward heaven I gaze, inspired to speak of your handiwork. Marabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam bechochma asita, mal'ah ha'aretz kinya necha. How manifold are your works, Eternal One. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. I used to journey at the heat of summer's day to the kingdom of magnificent tranquility, to the forest's dense thickets. There between God's trees, which had not heard the axe's echo, on a path known only to the wolf and mighty hunter, I used to wander whole hours by myself, uniting with my heart and with my God until I came stepping over, passing between golden snares, to the Holy of Holies in the forest, the pupil of its eye. A butterfly hailing from paradise clung to the flower I planted in autumn. Letters from on high on its golden wings, signs of God. In these signs that before my eyes sank into place, fluttered the delicate light of my peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hapokeach einenu v'niflaot hateva. Blessed are you, eternal presence, who opens our eyes to the wonder and power of nature. Your beloved shall be like a fruitful vine at the center of your home, your children like young olive trees planted about your table. Our love and devotion to the next generation inspire us with hope for the future. Through nurturing the young, may we ascend toward the holy, the holiness of children, a gift to us all, a treasure to celebrate, a responsibility we share. Each of us, a spiritual parent, a giver of Torah, a source of love and nurture. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel, like palm groves that stretch out, like gardens beside a river. Asks the Midrash, what is the meaning of the verse, like gardens beside a river? These are the teachers of young children who bring forth wisdom and understanding from their hearts, all who share learning and love and cultivate generations to come, bring beauty to the places where Israel dwells. We continue on page 500. On the day my daughter was born, no one in the hospital died. So at the gate, a sign was posted, Kohanim may enter today. And it was the longest day of the year. So great was my joy that off I went with my good friend to the hills of Sha'ar Haggai. We saw a bare and sickly pine tree covered only with countless cones. And Svi said that trees on the verge of death yield more pine cones than the living. And I said to him, that was a poem, and you did not know it. Although you are a man of the exact sciences, you made a poem. And he responded, and you, although you are a man of dreams, you made an exact little girl with all the exact machinery for her life. Baruch atah Adonai, hanotea b'tochenu ahava v'tikva. Blessed are you, eternal presence, who implants within us love and hope for the future. Hazorim bedima, berina yiktsoru. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy, shall reap in joy. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy.
Through joy and exultation may we ascend toward the holy. Ivdu et Adonai b'simcha, bo'u lefanav birnana. Serve the eternal through celebration. Encounter God's presence in joyful song. Each of us is called to a life of service, avodah, that is rooted in joy and celebration and leads to thanksgiving, praise, and loving kindness. Jewish tradition teaches that life is the source of true simcha, the feeling of constant spiritual and moral growth, which endures and in spite of external events and circumstances. Serving God with our very lives should not be a burden. We are summoned to serve with gladness, not fear, and to serve beyond the walls of the synagogue, in our homes and in the street, in workplace and marketplace, in all of our encounters. When we serve God in our everyday lives, a steady joy dwells in our hearts and will accompany us when we enter the house of the eternal. Rabbi Hezekiah said in the name of Rav, you will one day give reckoning for everything your eyes saw that you did not enjoy. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch surprised his followers one day by announcing his intention to travel to Switzerland. When I stand shortly before the Almighty, he explained, I will be held accountable to many questions. But what will I say when I am sure to be asked, Shimshon, did you see my Alps? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al hasimcha.
Amen.
Blessed are you, eternal presence, by whose power we experience holiness through joy.
The 15th and final step of our journey. I will not allow my eyes to sleep until I find a place for you, a tabernacle for the invincible strength of Jacob. How shall I meet the eternal? Bow in worship before God on high? Shall I approach God with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Would the eternal be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sins of my soul? You who are mortal, God has taught you what is good and what the eternal requires of you. Only this, to do justice, to love goodness, to walk humbly with your God. To do justice, to love goodness, to walk humbly with your God. What does this verse imply? Taught Rabbi Elazar, to do justice means act in accordance with the principles of justice. To love goodness means let your actions be guided by principles of loving kindness. To walk humbly with your God means assist needy families with their funerals and weddings. And Rashi taught further, by giving modestly in private to help them meet their expenses. Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish taught, at the time when the temple stood, the altar used to make atonement for us. Now our tables make atonement for us. And Rashi taught further, our tables make atonement for us when we welcome guests to our tables through the mitzvah of hospitality. Our tradition teaches all who are hungry, let them come and eat. All who are needy, let them come and find a place at our table. Why distinguish between the two? Are the hungry and the needy not the same? There are many kinds of hunger, many dimensions of need. Some hunger for companionship. They crave respect, affection, a sense of belonging. Many souls starve for lack of meaning and purpose. Some speak without being heard. They need strength in spirit in their isolation. Others are in pain that goes unnoticed, unseen. They need kindness and attention from one who understands them. Let us give nourishment according to the hunger. Let us give sustenance according to the need. So may we see ourselves as vessels of holiness. May every place we find ourselves be an altar where we serve. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lirot et atzmenu kichlei kodesh. Blessed are you, eternal presence, by whose power we sanctify life when we see ourselves as vessels of holiness. And with those words, our journey through those steps, rising up from the mundane of our daily lives to the spiritual and the holy of God's realm, comes to its liturgical end. I cannot help but think of the journey of our ancient ancestors coming to Jerusalem to offer their offerings at the temple, physically walking up that flight of stairs to reach the Temple Mount, the sacred altar. May our journey, spiritual in nature, be as fulfilling as theirs were, physical in their nature. And I can't help but think also that when this spiritual journey of this day of Yom Kippur, this season of our atonement seeking, is concluded in a couple of hours, that we immediately turn our eyes and our gaze towards the building of the Sukkah and the celebration of that festival of our ancestors' wandering and of our fall harvest in just a couple of days. My teacher, Shaul Feinberg, used to speak and teach that lifting up the lulav and the etrog, the palm, the myrtle, the willow, and that beautiful citrus fruit that goes with them, and waving them with both hands in all directions, was in a very real sense the spiritual equivalent of Winston Churchill's V for Victory. That we as Jews are celebrating, surviving into another year after the high holidays are over, as we come to Sukkot. And that we do so in a sukkah, a shelter built to be open to the world all around us. We have to be able to see the roof enough, through the roof enough to see the heavens, that we're told that if it rains, we need to get out of the sukkah lest we fear for injuring ourselves by getting ill. With walls that allow us to see nature around us. But as we've learned over this past 18 months in our prayers, that Sukkah brings a different kind of openness as well, an openness to the possibilities that we embraced on these steps of the journey today. And so I want to leave you with a teaching that I was blessed to be able to share at our 6 Point Sports Academy a couple of years ago, teaching young Jewish athletes, those who work with their bodies to play sports and games at the highest possible level, who learn Jewish lessons and lessons about themselves through doing so. As athletes, they depend upon breath, much like singers and speakers do, for their energy. And so I pointed out to them the interesting play in Exodus, where when Moses asks God, when the people say, "Who sent you? What name shall I use?" Instead of giving Moses that Yod-He-Vav-He name that we still don't know how to pronounce for our own protection, God said to Moses in that moment, speaking in the first person, "Eheyeh asher eheyeh." I will be what I will be. Tell them that Eheyeh sent you. And then I dared them and challenged them to take a long, slow, deep breath in, to hold on to it, and then as they were preparing to breathe it out, try to say the word, the name, Eheyeh, and see what happens. Try it now. Take a breath in, hold on to it, and as you breathe it out, say, Eheyeh.
Yeah.
And once you realize that all of the sounds in that name are contained in our breath, I challenge you to take another breath without recognizing the presence of God, of Eheyeh, in that breath, each and every breath we take. We conclude the journey in a moment on page 508. But I want to take this opportunity to thank the two people that I have shared this bima with, Felicia and Marcy, one more time. Couldn't do it without you. Was reminded of that during the last half hour when I tried to. The gifts that you bring that raise all of our breath and all of our prayer up are truly spectacular and a blessing to all of us. Thank you for sharing them.
Well, as long as we're saying thank yous, Rabbi, you know I don't like to speak much, and that's why you've taken on all of the announcements. Our High Holy Day experience would not be what it has been without you. So we all thank you very much. We thank you for being our rabbi, and we thank you for serving this community.
You are welcome, and I thank you for the privilege to say that I am part of this community. I want to thank everybody who participated live or on video, who took some of the burden of leadership off of all of us. Greatly appreciated, and we look forward to being back in our normal mode, God willing, next year, and welcoming many more of you back to sharing this leadership with us. And if not, by then we'll know how to do it right. The donors for the flowers that have graced us for the entirety of our high holiday period, thank you for your generosity. And as a quick reminder, continue to look for updated information on everything that's going on within our community in emails from the women of Temple Solel, from our religious school, in this week's news by email, and also in the Shabbat emails that go out every Thursday night or Friday, which means you'll see it tonight or tomorrow. It's already there. Shabbat services tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. I'm moving in. Torah study, Saturday morning at 9:15, Psalm study, 9:30. I do this every week. Torah study at 9:30, Psalm study at 11:15. You can continue to contribute towards the annual food drive. For exactly how, whether it's donations of food or financial contributions, I direct you to the information in this week's news, where you can contact Nancy Feinberg or any member of the committee. And a reminder that we will be participating as a congregation once again in the Ovarian Cancer Walk this Sunday at 10 a.m. We'll meet at the Allen Pond Amphitheater. And if you have any questions about that, please contact Lauren Wiseman. Page 500. Excuse me, page 508. Truly, how splendid a sight it was when the holy high priest came forth in peace from the Holy of Holies. Renew us this day through memory, the gift of imagination. Like a tent stretched out across the sky, so too the robe of the Kohen Gadol. Renew us to praise with song and prayer, reverent service of the heart. Like a rainbow wrapped in the cloth of cloud, so too the light of the Kohen Gadol. Open our eyes to nature's mosaic, our ears to music of amazement. Like a rose when it opens to the light, so too the outstretched hands of the Kohen Gadol. Renew us each day with wonder, infinite wellspring of the soul. In each human hand and heart is the power to renew life, to see dignity where there is brokenness and defeat, to know and cherish the image of God in every human face, to open eyes that have closed in despair, to shelter the weak and shield the helpless, to give strength to the weary, hope and comfort to those who feel pain, to care for the earth like an old friend, to give its oceans, rivers, and forests our selfless love, to treat ponds and tide pools, sky and mountains as sacred living beings. In each of us is the power to renew life.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Ve'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham v'anachnu nivarech Yah me'ata ve'ad olam. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. We thank ושכנתי בתוכם, ואנחנו נברך מעתה ועד עולם. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Shana Tova, we will continue at 5 o'clock with Yizkor and at 6 o'clock with Ne'ilah.